welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be teaching you something exciting. We'll be learning how to make the wood effect board with the cheapest tools ever. So for this project, we'll be needing some items, and we'll start with our fondant, a pre-colored fondant. White could do, but I love to work with colored fondant for this particular type of project. You need a rolling pin, whatever size, whatever shape, whatever form. You also need a fondant smoother. We'll use this to smoothen our fondant on our board. We'll also be working with the wooden embosser. This is in fact the most important tool for this project. So if you can't afford the embossing mat, you can get this for 800 to 1,200 Nigerian Naira. Quite cheap and affordable. We'll also be working with our cutter. This cutter will be used to cut off excess fondant from our board when we start working. And we'll also be making use of a small pizza cutter. This will work hand in hand with the previous cutter you saw. We'll also be making use of our edible spirits. If you don't have an edible spirit, you could work with vodka, but edible spirit is easily accessible. You can easily get it. And for this project, we need our chocolate brown color, chocolate brown. The shade of brown you use is really important. We'll also be making use of our corn flour. Corn flour will be poured on the table, the work table. We'll use it to dust the work table before we roll out our fondant. A mixture of the chocolate brown color and our edible spirit to give us the paint, in quotes, that we'll use to paint on our fondant. This was already pre-mixed, so when it's time, I'll just pour in a little more edible spirit, so we'll be able to get the consistency we need. So before we start, I'll give our fondant a very nice kneading. Remember not to overwork your fondant. This is a fondant that has already been made and kept, and it has already been pre-colored, so you need your fondant till you feel it. So we'll be working with a 10 inches wide board, and I love red, so I guess that's what we'll be making use of red today. Anyways, I'm going to dust my work table with a little corn flour before I roll my fondant. And remember, when you're working on your fondant, you roll it front and back. And once in a while, I'm going to rotate my fondant to maybe 180 degrees or 45 degrees. I don't really know the angle, but I know I'm going to rotate my fondant, and you go, yeah, something like that. So you just make sure you don't turn it upside down. Just keep rotating it. Since my fondant is 10 inches, my board rather is 10 inches wide, I would be working with a fondant of 11 to 12 inches wide. And I'll try to place the fondant when I've rolled it to a certain extent. I'll place it on the board to confirm if I have gotten the desired width I need. So we're almost there. As you can see, we're just around 9 inches, so I'll just keep rolling. And once in a while, if you notice some air bubbles or anything, you could bust them out, then use your fondant smoother to smoothen it, so it gives your fondant a nice finishing. As you can see, that's what I'm doing here. So once we get to that, it fits perfectly, then I'll apply my edible glue to my board. Not so much, just very little to hold it firm. After the application of my edible glue, I'm going to place my fondant on the board. Making use of my cake smoother, I smoothen this fondant really well so it sticks perfectly. And I make use of my pizza cutter to cut out the excess fondant from the edges, so I don't have overlaying fondant around my board. You could do this like a night to the day you want to work on a project. You could do it a day before. You could even do it weeks ahead and just place. It doesn't get bad. In fact, the beauty of this board comes out mainly when you have kept it for a really long time. That's when the beauty of this board comes out. You don't like to place your finished work on a wet board. And since we're making use of edible spirits, it dries up in like an hour. Most times in less than an hour. It depends on the temperature of where you are, but it dries up really fast. So I'm going to give this board a nice finishing, and I think we are almost there, and it's almost time for us to emboss. So using our embosser, this is not a square cake, so I'll start off with the middle. Give this a nice push. Press it as hard as possible, but please try hard not to tear your fondant, because at this point your fondant is still very delicate. So make sure your embosser is placed on every corner of your board. Let no part be left plain. Oh, this is coming out really beautifully. I think there has to be pink wood somewhere. We could leave this like this though. There has to be pink wood somewhere. I have never seen a pink wood, but maybe we could create our own pink wood after doing this. As you can see, this is out and beautiful. Then it's time for us to paint. So a cup full of edible spirits, or a little more. So we'll be able to get the right consistency and you mix it. Sorry, I spilled my color a little bit, but while we're working and it's loud, right? Then, so it's almost time for us to paint on our fondant, and this is quite exciting. Remember, you don't place so much color at a time on one spot of your wood. When you look at a newly painted wood, the color shade differs from side to side. Some parts are darker, some parts are lighter, so that's what we're trying to achieve. But first of all, you have to go really light first, and that's what we're doing here. You go light and make sure every corner is covered, at least with light color. Every corner is covered. Then after that, you can now focus on the areas you want your wood to stand out. Like that area I'm just pointing out, that's where I really want my color to stand out. So I could add a little bit more color somewhere around there. Beautiful. Then I finish up and we're almost ready. This is coming out much more beautiful than I expected it to come out though. And I think it's going to look really nice with a cake on it. So I'll just apply more color to certain spots I feel need more color. And once we're done with this, you allow it to sit for at least an hour or two to dry up. This is after 15 minutes. You see, it's almost getting dried. It's not yet dried. So some parts are dried, some parts are not dried. But see how beautiful this looks. Wouldn't you love to try it? Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Did you try this? Would you like me to see it? I'll be waiting to hear from you. Bye.